I'm doing great. First day of spring ball, and very excited to be back out there. We'll go ahead and just get started. Obviously, first day of spring practice 2018. Really pleased with what we saw out there today. A lot of energy. Players were hungry to be coached. Obviously, I think we're a lot cleaner right now going into year 3 on day 1 than what we would have been in the previous years. There's pretty good execution, pretty good retention from the meetings that we've had so far with the players to be out here on day 1 and execute the way that we did. We had 10 newcomers take their first college practice today, and a number of those guys stood out and showed some signs of promise as we move forward. Obviously, you could tell the guys that have been around here for a few years, they were pretty fast, communicated very well, and looked pretty sharp. So for day 1, really pleased with where we're at. We got a lot of work to do over the next 5 weeks here and 14 more practices, including the spring game. But very pleased with the start. So with that, I'll go ahead and open it up.
Sorry, is there any guys you're holding out of spring ball?
Just the guys that were postseason injuries from last year.
Who's that?
Blesson, Austin, Barnwell. Trying to think of who else. Those are the 2 main that I can remember off the top of my head that had postseason injuries.
How about position changes? Anything of note?
No.
Wide receiver. What's your concern there? As far as the depth chart, when you look at a position group that doesn't really have a whole lot back.
I think we got a lot back.
Production-wise.
Yeah. Well, we didn't have a lot of production period at wideout, so I mean it's not like it's any different. It's an area of concern. In terms of development, we've got to develop a bunch of guys, but I think we've got some talent. I really like the way the wide receivers have worked here this offseason. Coach Herb has done a great job with that group, and just their habits right now, their approach to their work, their job. Wanted to take pride in the way they perform out on the field right now is completely different. Really pleased with what I've seen so far.
As far as preseason injury guys, Mason, Tverdov, Williams, are those guys back in action?
Yeah, they're all practicing. They practiced today with no issues.
Go ahead.
As far as installing new staff members and staff members taking on different positions, how was that gone through one practice?
Very smooth. I really like our staff right now. Last year we lost some good players. We lost some coaches. We've replaced good players with good players. I think we've replaced coaches with really good coaches. I like our staff chemistry right now. I like the relationships that our coaches have with each other and what they have with our players. I think our players have really taken onto the new coaches and connected with them very well and have embraced the new coach in their position. So I think it's been smooth. I think it's been fun to watch. New level of energy every time you bring in new guys.
What's the biggest challenge that Gio faces with a new OC, another new
OC? Just to keep improving, not to get frustrated, to stay upbeat, stay positive, and keep learning and keep improving every opportunity that he gets. And Gio is such a high-charactered individual that there's no issues with that. He'll do that. But those are always the challenges. Every you're going through another coordinator, another system, to get frustrated, get down a little bit, and think, oh, here we go again. The good thing is from last year, this year, there are a lot of similar concepts. We're going to build on them and have a lot more that we've got to work through, but there's a lot of similarities also that Gio can hang his hat on.
How did you distribute the quarterback reps, and how do you plan on doing that?
They all got reps today. There's no 1, there's no 2, there's a lot of guys that need to work. We need to work through. Coach McNulty needs to work through to figure out who can operate and manage his system. And they all got reps, and they will here for the first few practices until it kind of sorts itself out. And it will soon. It won't take long.
What is the goal? I'm assuming you're not going to have a starter by the end of spring camp at quarterback, but
we'd love to. We're going to have a depth chart for sure. It's at some point as we go through 15 practices, we'll figure out who's one on the depth chart coming out of spring. Doesn't mean that'll be the starter for the first game, but we will have some sort of a depth chart that'll say, okay, here's 1, 2, and 3 based on their 15 practices. Got me a question?
What's the advantage for Sikowski and Chapman to participate in spring camp as opposed to, I guess, Odin and Lewis, who didn't have that advantage? What's the advantage?
It's a huge advantage because you're going through the whole off season. You're going through the meetings that we can have, just learning terminology, learning concepts, working with the coach. Getting all the extra work that they do on their own throughout the off season until we start spring ball. There's a huge advantage. And you could see that today. Those guys, it wasn't their first practice of fall training camp, like Jonathan Lewis or normal freshmen would go through. They've been here for a while. They know what to expect. They know the standard, and they went out and they did a really nice job today.
Where does Tom Flacco stand in all of this?
He's like all the other ones.
Yeah.
He's in the mix, and again, there's no a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 5 guys that are all going to get reps here for the first few practices, and then once the coach starts to feel, McNulty feels more comfortable about who he can count on, who's starting to separate themselves, then we'll start to formulate a depth chart. But right now, we're trying to get guys all equal reps for the first few days.
What are you looking for in terms of that separation?
Consistency, leadership. Obviously making plays, guys that can make plays, but to go out there as a quarterback, you got to understand the offense. You got to be able to communicate well. You got to lead and do that. Got to respond to good and bad plays. There's a lot of it, I like what I've seen out of that quarterback group so far. Gio obviously is the older, more experienced guy, so he's kind of the leader of the group right now. Sitkowski's done a great job of coming in and trying to establish himself as a potential leader for the unit. And then Jonathan Lewis, who's been here for now going on half a year, feels a lot more comfortable with stuff too. I just like the overall group. Last year at this time in spring, we didn't have this many numbers. It was just a completely different deal. So we're much further ahead than we were a year ago.
When you have 2 QBs enroll early and go to spring practice, would you expect those guys to come back in August, kind of hit the ground running instead of just looking like average freshmen?
If we did our job in spring,
Yeah.
in summer, yeah, they better. That's obviously the advantage that they get. They got 6 months of training before we start training camp, and if we've done our job and they've done their job during those 6 months, yeah, they should look a lot different.
What's the expectation for a team with 17 returning starters overall? What do you feel
We better
like
get
they're
better.
ahead?
Yeah, we better get better. I've said this several times to some people. I mean, we're really, in my opinion, right on course for what I thought when I got here. We came in really with a 3 to 4 year plan, and I think we're right on pace for that. Year one, it is what it is. We're trying to build a culture, set standards, fix some issues. Year 2, we wanted to improve. I think we were able to do that. Year 3, with so many guys coming back, hopefully we can take that next step and win a few more games and get to postseason play. I mean, that's ultimately what we want to be able to do. Now, we got to stay healthy. A lot of things, got to happen for that to happen. We got to stay healthy. We got to develop. Guys got to get better. We got to play more consistent and stuff like that. But we're right on pace to hopefully get that accomplished.
How capable is Blackshear of taking a step forward and taking on a bigger workload?
Very capable. Now, the biggest issue is his size. He's not real big, and we got to be careful about how many times, he does carry the ball and the number of hits he gets. But that running back room with Jonathan Hillman coming in and Blackshear, Trey Sneed back in the fold. Watched Isaiah Pacheco, a true freshman today, do some really good things. We get Barnwell back full speed off of his ACL. We're going to have a number of bodies in that room that, again, last spring we did not have. So overall, I like the group. I don't know, if there's a Gus Edwards, so to speak, in that room, right now after the first day of practice. But we've got some good playmakers in there, and I think we've got some good depth.
What's your early impressions of Jonathan Hillman?
He had a good first day. What I really like about him, he's a very serious dude. He came here with some goals, and he's on a mission. And I like the way he attacks his work every single day. He's got great habits, great leadership ability. He's very intelligent, understands football. He's been well coached, and he's going to be a really nice addition to our program. I like what I've seen so far.